Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm on location here at Delco Park. Now, it's a pretty small community park here, not too many acres and not really much of hiking trails to be had here, but I mean there's this paved pathway that circles around the pond here. And so I'm thinking for today, it's about late morning now, but it's really overcast, diffuse light as you can see. I'm just going to take a quick walk around this entire pond and see if there's any photographs here. So essentially I'm thinking I'm going to focus on the sculpture over here, see if I can just get a quick landscape shot of it. As it's right along the path here. And then for anything else, I'm not too sure. There might be some foliage and different trees that we'll see here as well. It just depends on the colors and everything, because it is pretty past peak foliage at least. But we will see here at least. And I did see one gull flying overhead, so that's a potential maybe for some wildlife and some bird shots. That all depends as well. But yeah, it's gonna be a nice little morning stroll here through the park, and hopefully taking a few images here. But other than that, there's different features and stuff, I think there's a bike park and everything, and some baseball diamonds and just other stuff. But like I said, I'm mainly going to be focusing here on this water feature and just making a nice quick little morning of it. So I think that's pretty much it for now, so let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, so now I'm here at the sculpture here. It's titled Rock Waves by Anno Sievert from Germany, actually. So it's a sculpture made from Indiana limestone, and it's very beautiful. It has this nice swirling kind of abstractive pattern and quality to it. And so even the backside actually as well, which I can show you here, actually looks really, really cool. So it's got a lot going on for it, but yeah, it's almost kind of random in just its placement, just right here by the pond at this community park here. I'm here at Delco, but it's still really cool to see this, and I still think it's worthwhile to take a photograph, even though it's not the most pleasing light. At least it is a nice soft diffused overcast light, which I definitely like a lot. So took some shots here already. Just got it mounted on the tripod with my 16-35 f4 lens and my wide angle lens, and so I've just been taking some shots dead on of the front and the face of it so far, and I've been at f11, so I can just kind of get a nice distance in between there and get most of the image there in focus at least. About 25th of a second in ISO 100, just because I don't really need too much light necessarily, and actually I've been bumping it up almost a full stop of light and almost overexposing it a little bit brighter, just because the color palette in general is very much muted. It's like a slate gray and just lots of different earthy tones to it. In the background though, and I really can't avoid it from this front of the sculpture here, but there is this almost like a power plant or some factory behind it, and it has a very kind of taupe, kind of like a beige, almost like a pale skin color complexion, I guess, to the building there, which honestly it adds a lot more to the image in a sense, just because it is a similar color scheme to the rest of the gravel and sand and obviously the limestone sculpture itself. So there's a lot going for it here, and I'm trying to make it work the best I can, even shooting at this wide angle perspective. And so the initial shot I took was centering the rule of thirds, putting it off-centered onto the left side, and putting it with, if you ever see the spiral Fibonacci sequence, having that eye right there at the, I think it's the top left most corner there, and showing some detail of the paved path that surrounds the pond and the sculpture here. And then just obviously getting in the mid-ground, all the pond water, and then the background has that power plant or that factory or whatever. And then so I opted for also doing a vertical image that at least some space and some room to breathe surrounding the sculpture, but also just kind of gives this nice full effect as I'm just centrally placing the subject into the frame there, vertically speaking, of course. So yeah, all the images have turned out great. I've been doing autofocus as usual, but I'm pre-focusing onto that central eye that's way up there at least, and so it's been turned out pretty well. But like I said, this might be a shot that I may keep in mind for later on, another time of year, or just simply in a much better light, and see how that turns out. But so far I'm enjoying the shots here, and I might try some from behind if I can. It's a little too close to the pond, but I might be able to climb onto the riprap surrounding the pond and see if I can get a shot from doing it that way at least. So I'm going to try that out here as well now I'm thinking about it, and I might work the angles and do some other stuff, just do more angles I guess, and not so much of the dead-on shots I've been doing so far, and see how those turn out. But so far I've been enjoying it, and just composing it at least. There's also this fishing gazebo or something like that, this platform that's just right out here jutting out into the middle of the pond there, and So that's another thing that's contend with basically when composing the images. Fortunately, on this side of the pond, there isn't too much else going on, so it's a lot easier, I think, to make that kind of potential image happen at least. So I'm thinking from here, yeah, I'm just gonna work the angles, and I'll talk to you guys later, or at least here in a little bit. But I'm thinking there's also maybe a potential tree composition over here I may try as well, and just basically make a circle around the lake once or twice, and then that'll pretty much be wrapping up the video there. But yeah, so far I've been enjoying this. I think it's something different. It's incorporating the human and natural just kind of fields, I guess, and doing something that's, it's a natural sculpture of Indiana limestone, like I said. But it's, it's crafted in such a way that, people made it, of course. So it's pretty neat to kind of meld those two together, I think. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys in a little bit, and I will see you somewhere else along the pond here. Alright, for my next target here, actually this is a little bit of a surprise, I guess, because I was initially going to go to this small little red tree over here that's very tiny along the paved path, but I'm opting for going over here to the fishing platform, the pavilion, and I'm getting this vantage point over here as it's actually kind of starting to lighten up in the sky, and the sun's starting to peek through a little bit more through all the layer of the clouds. But I'm seeing this arrangement, this trio of these three really reddish trees, orange trees, and so they're perfectly arranged, and they're still, in really nice color and form here for late autumn. But I feel like they're working out real nice with what I'm going for here, doing the small telephoto landscape basically from here, incorporating the foreground, just a little bit of pond water, the bare trees, the other deciduous trees behind them, and it's creating this kind of distance right there. And since I'm using a telephoto lens, that's automatically going to compress the distance in the entire the landscape scene in front of me. And so I'm opting for about f9, just because I don't really need everything to be sharp and focused since it's farther away. And I'm just focusing mainly on the three trees that are lined up there. And they fortunately are on the same focal plane, so that means that they're going to be sharp, or they should be, since they're all the same distance from me and the camera, of course, here too. So it's worked out pretty well with that. I'm doing 25th of a second again in ISO 100 as well. Just once again, nice and simple, trying to expose well enough, but I'm keeping these a little bit darker than I did for like the sculptures, of course, or the sculpture that is over there, just because it is a little bit darker. It seems like light, even though they're front lit by the sun that's starting to slowly come out here with just the spotty cloud light. So as long as the longer I feel like I'm going to be here today, the more it's going to open up in light. That just seems like a potential, I guess, but so far, it's good. It's going pretty well, I'd say, overall. And so far I'm enjoying the images here. But the arrangement and the composition of the shot, it's not really the most favorite thing in the world. It's something I've also done at other community parks as well. Go figure, I guess. But so it's something that's nice, but I feel like it might be something to play around with in post-production and see how well it looks at least. But it's just a nice little secondary shot. It's not really what I'm here for and the main goal of today's trip out here to Delco, but still something nice nonetheless. So I think I'm going to move on from here. I might take one or two more shots. They're all done in a horizontal fashion, since the three trees are lined up, horizontally, obviously. And then I'm going to move on to that smaller red tree over there and see what kind of images I can get out of that one. So, and then we'll make our way around the rest of the pond here. So far I'm just taking my time here for late morning, just really kind of taking it slow. There isn't too many people here walking around, so just pretty much just taking my time, easing into it. Not trying to be so rushed or conscious about getting images with this trip, but still just trying to have fun and just take some material while I can, of course. So I will talk to you guys in a bit, and as I make my way, it's really just down the path, so it's not far, and we'll talk about getting some shots with that tree as well. So see you in a bit. All right, so now I'm here at this really small red tree over here, like I said, just situated right next to the paved path along the pond here, and I'm opting for a vertical composition here. Doing about 125th of a second. I'm going for a much wider aperture than I normally would with the kind of shot like this, but since I am on a telephoto lens, like I said earlier, that means I'm compressing the distance a lot more in whatever I'm pointing the camera at, of course. So that means I'm going to have a much more blurred out background, and really just put much more focus, since there is so much distance, in contrasting to the last image with the 3 trees there, where everything was kind of like there at the same part of the focal plane. With this one, obviously the background's much farther out, as the tree's much closer to me, so on this side of the pond here. And so I'm making for something that's going to be a lot more blurred out in the background, and just really put an emphasis on this bright red color that pops, you know, the entire frame really. And then I'm at ISO 100, which just pretty much simple for what it is, but it's front lit with this soft diffused light, as the sun's slowly coming out, like I said earlier, and as it still is really for the mid-morning or late morning here, excuse me. So I think it's worked out pretty well. And then just using a polarizer, just to really get that red a lot more saturated, and make the pond, the lake reflections there, just, you know, smooth out basically. And so I feel like it's worked out pretty well. I'm zooming in at about 135 millimeters, so it's a little bit more cropped than I normally would, but something that's a lot neater, I think. And plus, with eliminating the paved path from the composition and the foreground, just underneath the tree, I feel like it does add a lot as well. And so it just really kind of pulls you in a much more cropped in view, and just really feels like you're really just pulled into the scene, I think, a lot more than you normally would, of course. So I think it's been working out pretty well. The sky isn't too much to worry about, so I can actually risk overexposing just a little bit, you know, a few almost stops of light maybe, and so it's been working out pretty well. So yeah, I think with that being said, I'm gonna make my way around the rest of the pond here. I have no other real compositions in mind at the moment, but I feel like once you circle around everything, you might get a better sense of any other angles, and you might see something new, or, you know, new potential image at least, from the other side. So it's always worth doing a walkabout and seeing what you can, you know, perhaps find, I guess. So I'm going to do that here in a moment, and then I'll probably wrap up the morning here at Delco. So I'll talk to you guys once again in a little bit. Okay, now we're really in for a little surprise here. So actually what ends up happening is the sky's starting to really clear out now, and we're really getting some full sun as it's peeking through the clouds here. But something really neat's happening and forming over here with just the blue sky. It's really opening up the reflections here in the trees. So here's the 3 main trees, the orange trees that I took that one shot of earlier when it's much more cloudier light. But now they're just really opening up with the reflections in the water. And so I'm doing some telephoto landscape shots of them as, once again here, but, you know, in a much more abstractive sense, where I'm only incorporating that reflection as the trees are flipped upside down, of course. But just the neat ripples in that smaller, with a little bit slower shutter speed, that is, creates a subtle blur in there as well. And then I'm trying some ones incorporating the riprap along the water here, where I actually focus on those, and that takes over the left side of the frame as well. But yeah, I mean, they're really cool, I think, and something a little bit different, you know. Reflections in general, I feel like, are just really neat to really open up your eye a little bit more to, you know, things you might overlook when you just commonly look at, you know, a simple tree like that. But when you see the reflection, it's just like its own subject in a way, almost. And so that's what I'm really incorporating here, at least. And then, of course, using a polarizer as well to just make the blues of the sky and the reflection there become much more apparent, or I can make it, dial it back, and, you know, it becomes much more subdued at least. But yeah, this is something really cool and something neat, again, that I wasn't really expecting, but, you know, I'm really glad that we're getting these weather and conditions that, you know, make this much more likely to do, I guess. So yeah, something really neat here. And so I'm not even halfway across the water here, but it's still pretty funny that, you know, I'm just getting all these shots and really taking my time and having fun with it, and really just, you know, taking a nice morning here and just getting different kinds of images. And so far it's been quite the variety with the sculpture and then the trees and now all these reflections. So, you know, just trying out different subjects and different styles and different lens choices, of course, too. So yeah, I think with that being said, I'm finally going to start walking along. I might do some more reflections with the light as it's kind of starting to open up and get brighter here with late morning, and wrap around the lake at least. I did see a great blue heron. It looked like landed over in a tree all the way on the other side there. I'm not sure if it's still there, but that's always an option, you know, so we'll see about that, if it's even still over there, that is. All right, so I finally circled around the entire pond here. It's pretty neat. The last time I spoke was photographing those reflections at least, and then just a little bit of wind kicked up and they just knocked them all the way out, and so it just became basically no ripples at all and everything. So it's a nice little moment in time there, I guess, where just the images really spoke for themselves, I guess. So I circled around the rest of the pond. Really didn't see too much else. As you can see, it's starting to get a bright full sun as the sky clears out for the day here. It's very beautiful, nice weather. Now it's finally warming up compared to when we got here, because it's very much colder. So I'm actually trying out doing the sculpture again, and I'm finding these images look a lot better than the initial ones I took when I first got here at Delco for the day. Now that it's just full sun, just front lit, right on the face of the sculpture here, it just looks so much better, I think. And then coupled with the much more bluer water and sky, and just all these thin stripped clouds up ahead, just really makes a much more colorful looking composition photograph overall. So I'm doing the exact same compositions as I did before, pretty much the same camera settings. I'm shooting at f11, which should just open up enough of the light there and sharpness for the images there. And I'm at about 100th of a second, just because I am having a lot more light. That means I can actually have the shutter be a little bit more slowed down at least, and I'm doing an ISO 100, of course. So I'm liking these a lot better, I think, then. And I'll incorporate both of them into the video here at the end of the slideshow, so you can maybe choose which ones you like more. But I feel like these are a lot better just because it's not that bland gray sky and light with the diffused light. And I'm kind of surprised to say that because I do like my overcast days, but I feel like the sunlight actually does add a lot more to the composition and the images overall. So I think with that being said, I'm going to end the video here though. I'm really glad about the different kinds of lens choices, different kind of images and styles I'm doing, just simply from walking through this pond and around it for a couple hours here. So I really liked how it turned out, and I hope you enjoyed the video at least. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. This has been Delco Park. Until next time, make sure to get out here. Thank you.